Here is a truth most people never dare to admit. Money responds to identity, not desperation. Every day, people chase it, fear it, beg for it, or complain about it, and then wonder why it slips further away. But there is a forgotten spiritual law that turns this entire struggle upside down. It is the law of calling money by its name. When you speak to money as if it is a loyal servant instead of a distant stranger, it begins to recognize you. It begins to move toward you. It begins to obey you. When money responds to clarity, it is not reacting to effort or emotion, it is responding to precision of thought. Most people speak about money in vague, emotional language. They say they want more, they hope for relief, they wish for security. None of these statements give direction. Clarity is direction. When the mind knows exactly what it expects money to do, where it belongs, and how it serves life, the confusion that blocks flow dissolves. Money does not move toward confusion because confusion carries mixed signals. One moment the desire is strong, the next moment fear interrupts it. Clarity removes contradiction. It sends a single instruction into consciousness, and that instruction begins rearranging circumstances, ideas, timing, and opportunities to match it. Clarity is not about forcing a number or obsessing over detail. It is about inner agreement. When you are clear, your thoughts, words, and expectations point in the same direction. This alignment creates a sense of authority that money recognizes. Authority is calm, it is steady, it does not rush, it does not beg. It speaks as someone who already understands the order of things. When clarity is present, decisions become cleaner. You notice chances you would normally ignore. You act without hesitation because you are no longer doubting your own intention. Money often arrives through insight before it arrives through income. That insight only comes when the mind is quiet and certain. Many people confuse clarity with control. Control tightens. Clarity relaxes. Control says this must happen now or else something is wrong. Clarity says this belongs to me and it is finding its way through the best possible channel. This mental posture removes resistance. Resistance is one of the greatest blocks to financial flow. It is created by worry, comparison, and impatience. Clarity dissolves resistance because it replaces anxiety with knowing. When you know something is yours, you do not argue with time. You do not panic at delays. You do not collapse when the outer world looks unchanged. You remain aligned with the inner decision you have already made. Money is sensitive to identity. Clarity strengthens identity. When you are clear about what money is to you, it stops being mysterious or overwhelming. It becomes a tool with a purpose. Tools respond to skilled hands. When you define money clearly as support, expansion, freedom, or service, your relationship with it shifts. Instead of fearing loss, you focus on use. Instead of hoarding, you focus on circulation. Circulation invites return. This is why clarity often produces sudden changes that seem effortless. It was never about luck. It was about removing mental fog that blocked movement. Clarity also trains the subconscious. The subconscious mind follows instructions literally. When instructions are vague, it produces vague results. When instructions are clear, it works with precision. It begins filtering experiences, conversations, and ideas that match your declared intention. This is not magic. It is focus. Focus directs energy. Energy creates form. Money is one of the most visible forms energy takes in the physical world. When focus is stable, money organizes itself around it. This is why clarity must be maintained, not declared once and forgotten. Each repeated clear statement reinforces the signal. Over time, this signal becomes dominant and overrides old beliefs of struggle or limitation. The second truth builds on the first. Your words create your financial identity. Identity is not what you want. Identity is what you consistently claim. Every time you speak about money, you are describing who you are in relation to it. If you repeatedly say money is hard to get, you are declaring yourself as someone who struggles. If you say money leaves quickly, you are declaring yourself as someone who cannot hold. These declarations are not harmless expressions. They are identity statements. The mind organizes reality to remain consistent with identity. It will reject opportunities that contradict it and amplify experiences that confirm it. Words are not just sounds. They are agreements. When spoken with emotion and repetition, they settle into belief. Belief shapes behavior. Behavior shapes results. This is the chain most people never see. They try to change results without changing language, but language is the doorway to identity. When you change how you speak about money, you change how you see yourself. When you change how you see yourself, your decisions naturally shift. You begin acting like someone who expects supply rather than scarcity. You negotiate differently. You value your time differently. You stop tolerating situations that drain you. These subtle shifts create dramatic outcomes over time. Financial identity is often inherited. Many people unknowingly repeat phrases they heard growing up. Statements about lack, struggle, or fear become normalized. Repetition makes them feel true. But truth is not determined by repetition. It is determined by alignment with principle. When you consciously choose new words, you are not pretending. You are selecting a new identity. This may feel uncomfortable at first because the old identity has momentum. But discomfort is not a sign of falsehood. It is a sign of transition. Each time you speak from the new identity, weaken the old one. Your words must match how you want money to recognize you. Money responds to confidence, expectation, and respect. Speaking with respect does not mean glorifying money or placing it above values. It means acknowledging its role without resentment or fear. When your language becomes calm and assured, money begins to approach differently. You may notice people offering opportunities without you asking. You may notice ideas arriving at unexpected moments. This is the subconscious responding to the new identity you are affirming daily. There is a difference between affirmations spoken mechanically and words spoken with inner acceptance. Identity is not changed by shouting phrases while feeling unworthy. It is changed by gentle, consistent statements that feel believable enough to grow into. Start where belief can follow. Speak as someone learning to trust supply. Speak as someone open to increase. Over time, these words reshape self-image. Once self-image changes, effort decreases. You no longer force results. You allow them. Your financial identity also affects how others perceive you. People sense confidence beneath words. They respond to certainty even if it is quiet. When you speak as someone who expects value, others treat you accordingly. This is not manipulation. It is resonance. The inner state broadcasts outward. Money often comes through people, agreements, and timing. When identity shifts, these channels reorganize naturally. What once felt blocked begins to open without explanation. The most important realization is that words are always working. Silence does not stop identity formation. Inner dialogue continues even when the mouth is quiet. That inner dialogue must also be addressed. Gentle awareness is enough. When a limiting thought appears, replace it without judgment. Each replacement is an act of self-leadership. Over time, leadership becomes natural. You stop reacting and start directing. When clarity and language work together, they create a stable foundation. Clarity gives direction. Words give identity. Identity determines experience. This is not something you do once. It is a way of living. Each day becomes an opportunity to reinforce who you are in relation to abundance. As this becomes habitual, money stops being a struggle to solve and becomes a relationship to maintain. A relationship built on respect, confidence, and trust continues to grow without force. Calling money by its name is a declaration of ownership, not longing. Longing places money outside of you. Ownership places it within your authority. Most people speak from longing without realizing it. Their words carry a tone of waiting, hoping, and chasing. Even when they ask for money, the underlying feeling is separation. Ownership feels completely different. When you claim something as yours, your energy relaxes. You stop scanning the world anxiously. You stop measuring every delay as failure. Ownership is calm because it assumes arrival as natural. This inner posture is what shifts the relationship with money more than any technique. Ownership does not mean arrogance or entitlement. It means recognition of alignment. When you speak to money as something that belongs in your life, you are not forcing reality. You are acknowledging a law of order. Everything that serves your purpose has a place in your experience. Money is one of those servants. When you call it by name, you remove mystery. You remove distance. You speak as someone who understands the role money plays, rather than someone overwhelmed by it. This shift alone dissolves a lifetime of struggle thinking. Longing creates tension. Tension pushes away. Ownership creates permission. Permission attracts. You never feel tense about something you already consider yours. Think of how you relate to things you own. You expect access. You expect use. You do not plead. You do not feel nervous about whether they will appear. This same emotional tone is what money responds to. When your inner language shifts from someday I hope to this belongs with me, the subconscious receives a complete different instruction. It begins organizing circumstances to support that identity. Many people resist this idea because they confuse ownership with current possession. Ownership is not about what is visible right now. It is about what you have claimed internally. All creation begins internally. The physical world follows the mental blueprint. When you claim ownership before physical proof, you are not denying reality. You are directing it. This is the part most people abandon too early. They speak ownership once, then check the outer world, see no change, and return to longing. Consistency is what makes ownership real. Each repeated declaration strengthens the inner agreement until it becomes dominant. Calling money by its name also removes emotional charge. Instead of seeing money as a solution to fear, you see it as a tool. Tools do not create emotional drama. They serve function. When money is stripped of emotional weight, it moves more freely. Fear slows movement. Calm accelerates it. Ownership creates calm. Calm creates flow. This is why people who expect money often receive it with less effort. They are not emotionally entangled with the outcome. They allow money to arrive in its own intelligent way. Ownership also changes how you respond to setbacks. When something belongs to you, a delay does not threaten your sense of self. You do not collapse into doubt. You adjust, refine, and continue. This steadiness is magnetic. Money flows towards stability. It avoids chaos. When your inner world is stable, your outer world eventually mirrors that stability. Ownership is not loud. It is grounded. It does not announce itself to others. It simply exists as an inner knowing that shapes behavior naturally. Money moves through channels, but your consciousness is the source. This truth corrects one of the most common misunderstandings about abundance. People believe money comes from jobs, people, markets, or luck. These are channels. Channels are pathways, not origins. When a channel dries up, fear arises because the source was misidentified. When you know consciousness is the source, you do not panic when one channel closes. You expect another to open because the source remains intact. This understanding creates emotional resilience, which is essential for sustained prosperity. Consciousness shapes perception. Perception shapes opportunity. Opportunity shapes income. This sequence explains why two people in the same situation experience completely different financial outcomes. One sees obstacles. The other sees openings. The difference is not intelligence or effort. It is consciousness. When your consciousness expects supply, it scans reality differently. It notices possibilities that were always present but previously invisible. This is why money often arrives through unexpected means once the inner shift occurs. Consciousness widens the lens through which life is viewed. When you identify channels as the source, you attach your sense of security to external conditions. This creates fear-based decisions. Fear-based decisions often block flow. Consciousness-based decisions are calmer. They are intuitive. They are timely. When you trust consciousness as the source, you act from alignment rather than panic. This alignment allows channels to function smoothly. Money flows best when it is not being micromanaged by fear. Understanding consciousness as the source also removes dependency on specific outcomes. You stop saying this must work or else. That phrase signals lack of trust in the source. When trust is present, flexibility increases. Flexibility attracts solutions. Solutions attract money. Many breakthroughs happen when people release attachment to one specific channel and remain open to how supply wants to arrive. Openness is a state of consciousness. It cannot exist alongside desperation. Consciousness also determines how money is received once it arrives. If consciousness is rooted in lack, money brings anxiety. It is quickly spent, lost, or blocked. If consciousness is rooted in sufficiency, money brings ease. It circulates with purpose. It multiplies. This is why some people earn more, but feel poorer. The issue is not income. It is consciousness. Changing consciousness changes experience regardless of numbers. When you know consciousness is the source, gratitude becomes natural. Gratitude is not forced politeness. It is recognition of flow. Recognition strengthens flow. Complaints weaken it. Each thought either acknowledges supply or denies it. Consciousness responds accordingly. This is not punishment. It is correspondence. Inner state corresponds with outer result. Calling money by its name while recognizing consciousness as the source creates a powerful balance. You claim authority without attachment. You expect flow without controlling form. This balance allows money to serve rather than dominate. It keeps abundance sustainable rather than volatile. When consciousness leads, channels follow. When channels follow, money moves with intelligence instead of resistance. This understanding transforms how effort is applied. Effort becomes inspired rather than exhausting. Action becomes guided rather than forced. You stop pushing against life and start cooperating with it. Money responds to cooperation. It resists force. When consciousness is trusted as the source, work becomes an expression rather than a survival tactic. This shift alone changes the quality of results. As this awareness deepens, money stops feeling separate from spiritual life. It becomes integrated. It is no longer something to fix or fear. It is something to direct with clarity and calm. Ownership defines your stance. Consciousness defines your supply. Together, they create a relationship with money that is stable, respectful, and free from struggle. There is no such thing as a money shortage, only a shortage of aligned thinking. What people call shortage is usually the visible effect of inner conflict. When the mind is divided, one part wanting abundance and another fearing it, the result appears as lack. The world reflects coherence, not desire. Abundance is not created by effort alone. It is claimed through alignment. Alignment means your thoughts, expectations, emotions, and actions are moving in the same direction. When alignment is missing, energy scatters. Scattered energy cannot sustain flow. This is why some people work endlessly yet feel financially stuck, while others seem to move forward with ease. The idea of shortage is often learned, not experienced. It is inherited through language, observation, and repetition. When the mind accepts shortage as normal, it begins interpreting neutral situations as proof of lack. A delay becomes failure. A pause becomes rejection. This interpretation reinforces the belief, and the belief shapes behavior. Aligned thinking interrupts this cycle. It reframes experiences without denial. A delay becomes redirection. A pause becomes preparation. This mental shift keeps energy moving instead of collapsing inward. Aligned thinking does not deny reality. It understands that reality is responsive. When you stop fighting what is, and start cooperating with what you are becoming, resistance dissolves. Resistance is the true cause of perceived shortage. Resistance tightens perception. It narrows options. Alignment expands perception. It opens possibilities. Money often arrives not because circumstances changed, but because perception widened enough to notice what was already available. Shortage thinking focuses on absence. Aligned thinking focuses on flow. Flow implies movement, not stagnation. Even when money is not visible, aligned thinking assumes movement behind the scenes. This assumption keeps the nervous system calm. A calm system makes better decisions. Better decisions invite better outcomes. This chain reaction explains why alignment often precedes visible change. The outer world follows the inner correction. Aligned thinking also restores trust. Trust is not blind belief. It is confidence in process. When trust is present, the mind stops micromanaging outcomes. It allows space for intelligence greater than personal effort to operate. This intelligence organizes resources efficiently. Money is one of those resources. When alignment is established, money stops being treated as scarce and starts being treated as responsive. This change in relationship removes the illusion of shortage. Money arrives in response to certainty, not struggle. Struggle sends a signal of doubt. It says, I do not believe this will work unless I exhaust myself. Certainty says this works because it is aligned. Certainty is quiet. It does not announce itself. It moves steadily without drama. When certainty is present, actions feel natural instead of forced. You do not push, you proceed. This difference is subtle but powerful. Struggle often comes from trying to prove worth. Certainty comes from knowing worth. When worth is questioned, effort increases but effectiveness decreases. When worth is accepted, effort becomes efficient. Money recognizes efficiency. It moves toward environments where energy is used wisely. Struggle wastes energy. Certainty conserves it. Conserved energy creates momentum. Momentum attracts opportunity. Certainty does not mean knowing every step. It means trusting direction. You may not know how money will arrive, but you know it belongs. This knowing removes desperation. Desperation distorts perception. It causes people to overlook opportunities that do not match expectations. Certainty keeps perception open. It allows money to arrive in forms that surprise but serve. When certainty replaces struggle, timing improves. People often miss opportunities because they are rushing. Certainty removes urgency. It allows patience without passivity. Patience keeps awareness sharp. Awareness recognizes timing. Money moves with timing. When timing is respected, outcomes feel effortless even if effort was involved. Struggle also creates emotional noise. Emotional noise interferes with intuition. Intuition often guides financial decisions before logic catches up. Certainty quiets the noise. It creates space for insight. Many financial breakthroughs begin as subtle ideas. These ideas are easily ignored when the mind is loud with worry. Certainty creates the silence necessary for guidance to be heard. When certainty becomes a habit, money stops being a problem to solve and becomes a system to participate in. You engage instead of fight. You respond instead of react. This posture transforms how challenges are experienced. Challenges no longer threaten identity. They become adjustments within a stable framework. Money flows best within stability. As certainty deepens, gratitude naturally follows. Gratitude is not a reaction to having, it is a recognition of alignment. Recognition strengthens certainty. Certainty strengthens flow. Flow dissolves struggle. This cycle sustains itself, once established. Money responds not to effort alone, but to the state behind the effort. When the state is certain, money arrives without resistance. Every statement about money is a command, whether spoken out loud or repeated silently within. The mind does not distinguish between casual talk and deliberate intention. It records patterns. When you say money is hard, money is slow, money never stays, you are not describing circumstances, you are issuing instructions. These instructions shape expectation, and expectation shapes experience. Most people believe their words are reactions to reality, but in truth, they are often the cause of what repeats. The mind listens constantly, and it works to prove itself right. Commands do not require emotion to function. Even neutral statements carry authority when repeated. This is why habitual language is so powerful. A single complaint may seem harmless, but daily repetition turns into a rule. The subconscious accepts repetition as truth and organizes behavior accordingly. It influences what opportunities you notice, which risks you avoid, and how long you persist. Over time, these small adjustments create financial patterns that appear external but are rooted internally. Becoming aware of this does not mean censoring yourself with fear. It means choosing language with intention. When you speak differently, you interrupt old commands. You create new instructions that begin competing with the old ones. At first, nothing seems to change. This is because old commands have momentum, but persistence matters more than intensity. Each new statement weakens the old agreement. Eventually, the balance shifts and reality follows. Statements of appreciation are also commands. When you acknowledge money as supportive, useful, and present, you are instructing the mind to recognize supply. Recognition increases visibility. You begin noticing resources you previously ignored. This is not imagination. It is selective attention guided by instruction. The mind looks for what it has been told is important. When your statements shift from lack to sufficiency, your attention follows. Silence does not cancel commands. Inner dialogue continues even when words are unspoken. That inner dialogue must also be addressed gently. Arguing with thoughts strengthens them. Replacing them weakens them. A calm replacement is more effective than a forceful denial. Over time, the inner tone changes. When the inner tone changes, outer results adjust without effort. Money does not come to those who worship it, but to those who speak to it with authority. Worship places money above you. Authority places it below your direction. When money is worshipped, fear follows. Fear of losing it. Fear of not having enough. Fear of never getting it again. This fear creates tension. Tension blocks flow. Authority removes fear because it assumes order. Authority is not aggression. It is clarity and calm. When you speak with authority, you are not pleading or negotiating. You are stating what is expected. This expectation is not emotional, it is grounded. It comes from knowing your role as a director rather than a dependent. Money responds to direction because direction implies stability. Stability invites trust. Trust allows movement. Worship often disguises itself as obsession. Constant thinking, worrying, checking, and comparing are signs of misplaced focus. Obsession narrows perception. It makes money feel scarce even when it is available. Authority widens perception. It keeps money in proper perspective. It becomes one aspect of life rather than the center of identity. Paradoxically, when money stops being central, it flows more easily. Speaking with authority also means releasing emotional bargaining. Bargaining says if I do this, then I deserve that. Authority says I act from alignment, and results follow naturally. Bargaining implies uncertainty. Authority implies order. Money aligns with order. It resists chaos. When actions come from calm certainty rather than desperation, outcomes stabilize. Authority develops through consistency. Each time you speak from confidence rather than fear, you strengthen it. At first, it may feel unfamiliar. Old habits resist change, but authority grows quietly. It does not need validation. Over time, this inner posture becomes natural. You stop chasing confirmation. You move forward assuming cooperation. When authority replaces worship, money becomes a partner rather than a judge. It supports purpose instead of defining worth. This shift removes emotional volatility. Gains no longer inflate ego. Losses no longer collapse confidence. Stability increases. Stability attracts resources. This is how authority sustains abundance rather than creating temporary spikes. As commands become conscious and authority becomes natural, money stops reacting to emotional swings and starts responding to direction. The relationship matures. It becomes predictable without becoming rigid. Flow replaces force. Calm replaces anxiety. And what once felt elusive begins to behave as something that knows where it belongs. You never chase what you believe belongs to you. Chasing is a signal of separation. It assumes distance between you and the thing you desire. When the mind believes something is not yours, it activates urgency, anxiety, and over-effort. This energy does not attract, it repels. Chasing keeps attention fixed on absence rather than presence. It trains the nervous system to stay in pursuit mode, which is exhausting and unsustainable. Money responds poorly to this state because it lacks stability. Stability is what allows flow to settle and remain. When something truly belongs to you, your behavior changes automatically. You do not rush. You do not prove. You do not compete. You expect access without drama. This expectation shapes how you move through life. You make choices that assume support rather than scarcity. You wait when waiting is wise. You act when action feels aligned. There is no frantic energy behind decisions. This calm confidence is often mistaken for passivity, but it is actually precision. Precision attracts results faster than force ever could. Chasing also distorts judgment. When people chase money, they often accept conditions that undermine their value. They agree to terms that drain them. They overlook red flags because fear is louder than intuition. Believing money belongs to you restores discernment. You no longer grab at every opportunity. You select. Selection is power. Money flows toward those who choose rather than those who plead. Releasing the chase does not mean doing nothing. It means acting without desperation. Action taken from belief feels different in the body. It is steady. It is focused. It does not carry the weight of needing immediate validation. This kind of action compounds. Each step builds on the last. Over time, momentum forms naturally. Money follows momentum because momentum signals direction and reliability. Chasing also keeps attention fixed on future relief instead of present alignment. This creates a constant feeling of waiting. Waiting weakens confidence. Belief collapses when results are postponed too long. When you stop chasing, you come back into the present. The present is where power operates. Decisions made from presence are clearer. Clear decisions produce cleaner outcomes. Belonging is an internal agreement. Once that agreement is made, behavior aligns without force. You stop asking if it will work, and start asking how you will express it. This shift moves energy from doubt into creativity. Creativity opens new channels. New channels bring money in ways that chasing never could. Calling money by its name activates your divine right to abundance. A right is not something you earn through suffering. It is something you recognize and accept. When you call money by its name, you are not flattering it. You are acknowledging its role and your authority in relation to it. This acknowledgement restores order. Order is essential for flow. When roles are confused, systems fail. When roles are clear, systems function effortlessly. Many people treat money as unpredictable or superior. This creates fear. Fear disrupts clarity. Calling money by its name removes mystique. It places money where it belongs, as a servant of purpose, not a ruler of emotion. When you speak to it directly, with respect, but not submission, you reclaim your position. This is not about domination. It is about alignment with principle. Your right to abundance is activated through recognition, not effort alone. Effort without recognition leads to burnout. Recognition without effort leads to passivity. When both are present, action becomes effective. Calling money by its name bridges the internal and external. It aligns intention with expression. It tells the subconscious that supply is permitted, welcome, and expected. This activation also dissolves guilt around having. Many people subconsciously reject abundance because they associate it with selfishness or imbalance. When money is called into service, guilt fades. It is no longer about accumulation. It is about function. Function justifies flow. When money is given purpose, it moves willingly. Activation is not a one-time declaration. It is a lived agreement. Each time you speak about money with clarity and confidence, you reinforce that agreement. Each time you refuse to speak from fear, you strengthen it. Over time, this becomes your default state. Abundance feels normal rather than miraculous. Normality sustains. Miracles spike and disappear. Normality stays. As this right becomes embodied, you stop negotiating with life. You participate. You cooperate. You trust the intelligence behind events. Money responds to this trust by moving through you rather than around you. It finds you where you are aligned. It supports what you are here to express. And in that state, abundance stops being a goal and becomes a condition of being.